All right, let's talk about silver, but probably not in the way you're used to thinking about it. We're going to dive into a really compelling case that says 2025 could be a huge year for this metal, and the reasons why have almost nothing to do with jewelry or old coins. So let's jump right in.
And really, the whole thing hinges on this one big idea. See, for centuries, right? You hear silver, you think coins, you think fancy forks, you think jewelry, but that's the old way of looking at it. And the argument here is that that view is quickly becoming totally outdated.
Okay, so if it's not just a shiny metal for your jewelry box anymore, what is it becoming? That's the big question.
And here's the answer the source gives us, and it's a bold one. The idea is that silver is shaping up to be one of the smartest, most strategic investment plays for the year ahead. Now, that is a big claim, so let's dig into the why behind it.
This whole thesis really boils down to three key things. Three separate but, totally connected forces that, when you put them all together, paint a pretty powerful picture for where silver might be headed.
First up, let's talk about demand. And this is where things get really interesting, because the demand isn't coming from the usual places. It's all about this massive industrial boom. I'm talking about an explosive need for silver in the exact technologies that are literally building our future. I mean, just look at where this demand is coming from. We're talking solar panels, electric vehicles, and all the high-powered electronics behind AI. And here's the kicker. Silver isn't just a nice to have in these things, it's absolutely essential. It's one of the best conductors on the planet. That makes it non-negotiable for solar cells, for the crazy complex electronics in every EV, and for the powerful hardware that makes the AI revolution possible. These aren't just some growth industries. They're arguably the industries defining what's next. And listen, we're not talking about some slow, steady, boring growth here. The growth curves for solar, EVs, and AI are just vertical. They're going straight up. And as these sectors absolutely explode, their hunger for silver just skyrockets right alongside them. This creates this just huge, relentless pull on the world's silver supply.
So that explosive demand, that's just one half of the story. It gets way, way more interesting when you look at the other side of the coin. A serious, and I mean serious, supply squeeze.
This right here just lays it all out, doesn't it? You've got demand exploding like a rocket ship on one side, and on the other, supply is basically trickling out. It's the classic Econ 101 mismatch, but it's playing out on a massive global stage.
So you have to ask, why is that? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Getting silver out of the earth is really hard. It's expensive, it takes forever. A new mine can take years, sometimes even a decade or more to actually start producing. The bottom line is, the world's mining operations just weren't ready for this demand to hit the accelerator so hard. And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. We're talking about major producers, the actual companies pulling this stuff out of the ground, who are already raising red flags and warning about potential shortages. Now think about that for a second. When the people who sell the product start telling you there might not be enough of it, you should probably listen. It's a huge signal that this supply-demand gap is getting serious. Okay, so let's recap. We've got insane demand pulling on one end, and a super tight supply squeezing on the other. This tension leads us right into our third and final point, and this is where it gets really interesting for investors: the potential for a seriously undervalued opportunity.
You know, in the world of precious metals, gold is always the headliner, right? It's the benchmark. But the argument here is that silver, its little brother, is trading at a massive, almost historic discount to gold right now. We're not talking about a couple of bucks here and there. It's a major gap that's got a lot of smart money paying very close attention. And there's a really simple way to see this. It's called the gold-silver ratio. All it means is, how many ounces of silver do you need to buy 1 ounce of gold? Historically, that number has hovered around, say, 50 to 1. But lately, it's been way up there, sometimes 80 or even 90 to 1. The historical pattern suggests that this huge gap usually doesn't last forever. It tends to snap back. And if it does, that implies silver has a ton of ground to make up just to get back to normal. So let's put it all together. You've got this perfect storm, right? 1, an industrial boom that's creating unstoppable demand. 2, a supply chain that just can't keep up. And 3, a price that, when you compare it to gold, looks incredibly cheap by historical standards. Now, for people who hear this and think, that's interesting, the sources point to a couple of common ways to get involved. You've got the old school method, actually buying physical silver, coins and bars. And then there's the more modern way,
using things like ETFs, which are basically funds that trade like stocks and track the price of silver. It gives you the exposure without having to, find a place to store a bunch of heavy metal.
And that brings us right back to where we started. You've got this metal that's absolutely critical for the future of tech. You've got a supply crunch that seems to be getting worse, and you've got a price that looks cheap compared to gold. So you have to ask, is 2025 the year silver finally has its big moment? All the ingredients certainly seem to be there. Definitely something worth keeping an eye on.